This is the Tri-State Time Machine, brought to you by Alex R. White, PLLC, at SueDistractedDriver.com. Each week, your host, Vanessa Hankins, and her guests share memories and stories about the past, the present, and the future of the Tri-State area. That's West Virginia, Kentucky, and the Ohio areas. If you used to live here, or you currently live here, you're going to catch yourself saying out loud, "Wow, I remember that." Now, here's Vanessa.
Hey guys, it's Vanessa, and we're back with the Tri-State Time Machine. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about some legends. And you know, every town has its legends. And here in Huntington, one place that holds more than a century of thrills, laughter, and secrets, from the clatter of the Big Dipper to the whispers of forgotten rides to the ghostly tales after dark, Camden Park has been a part of our summers, our childhoods, and our history. But how much do we really know about it, and what's behind those gates? Today, we're pulling back the curtain with Huntington native and storyteller Clinton Burley to uncover the untold stories and the hidden history and maybe even a few mysteries of West Virginia's most iconic amusement park. Buckle up, this ride's about to start.
You know, as always, we always have these incredible guests. Funny enough, I have a lot of local tie-ins to Mr. Burley. Our families really kind of grew up together. We're forefathers in our church and everything, and the history that you're getting ready to learn from this is very inside. I think of even, you know, with this Disney and things like that, behind the scenes and all this stuff. Today, we're going to do some secrets of Camden Park, and this is just really exciting to me.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm like a little kid over here. I'm like all giddy. Smile can't be wiped off my face.
So I want everybody to brace in this. So, Clinton, before we kind of dive into the secrets, what's your personal connection to Camden Park?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all, but the family roots run deep. My dad was a native of Logan County and came to Huntington to go to Marshall after World War II. Mm-hmm. And at that time, the park was just being purchased by Mr. J.P. Boylan, who was purchasing it from a guy by the name of Colonel Via. Now, I don't know if Colonel was in the military sense or if it was in the sense of a Kentucky colonel.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. Maybe he was related to Colonel Sanders. I don't know. But anyway, Colonel Via had owned the park for some time, and it's not as the park evolved to. At that time, it was almost a rough and tumble place. Mm-hmm. They had a beer license. It was known for knockdown dragouts on the Midway, and it wasn't necessarily family friendly. And Mr. Boylan's vision was to make that park family friendly. Sure. And the Boylan family was also involved in the furniture business here in town.
Okay.
And
I was wondering why I'd heard the name before.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So in Westmoreland, there was a furniture factory that sat, if you're facing the building that now holds Sue's Antique Mall on Waverly Road.
Yes.
Just to the right of that, there was a wood frame furniture factory. Furniture was produced there, and much of it was sold at their family store, which was United Furniture, Hal Greer, and Forth. So my dad, knowing people in the coal fields, was hired as a Marshall student to go into the coal fields and sell furniture to company stores and furniture stores there. He did exceedingly well. Mr. Boylan had now bought the park and looked at my dad and said, "I want you to come to the park to start selling picnics to people from the coal fields for church groups, work groups, and so forth, to come to Huntington to go to Camden Park because we're turning this family friendly." He did that, was also successful, and before you know it, my dad was managing the business part of the park. His partner, a gentleman named Harry Nudd, who was an engineer by trade, was brought in to manage the ride part.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Boylan just let these young guys take that park and make it theirs.
Yeah.
And it just was wonderful. My dad and Harry both ended up with minor ownership stakes. And my dad remained the office manager of the park until his death in 1981.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite a ride. And it's a little family mark on a tri-state tradition.
Absolutely.
I love that. That's
That is
that's a cool story, and it's just exciting for me because as a little kid, I'm thinking of like behind the scenes. I never thought of like a family being part of it. I mean, a family owns it, but you don't think of it in that realm. You're just thinking these are hotty-totty businessmen, and they're just here to make money. They don't care if we're having fun at the park, And clearly they did. These were family men. These were people who were bringing their own children there.
100%. Harry had children. Of course, my dad there were three of us boys, and they truly looked at that park in that era as a place for families to escape, and that was the whole push. This was pre-Disney World. This was pre-Kings Island.
Mm-hmm.
Kings Island didn't come around until 1972.
Right.
And so you put yourself in the early 50s through the mid to late 70s. A trip to Camden Park was a huge deal for families. It was something they looked forward to year-round, and it mattered to folks.
Absolutely.
What great visionaries. Again, before Kings Island, before all Disney, all
Absolutely.
that. That's just
and
outstanding.
I don't know how many listeners at home, I think a lot of our older crowd will remember, but some of the younger people that listen, Safety Town, goodness, my head never leaves work. Camden Park started as kind of like a park and ride. It was before its time, but it was a park and ride between Huntington and Kentucky. So it started out as like a place where people went and took walks between waiting for their next ride and things like that. So it really developed quite quickly into the family. Once he jumped, it sounds like when he dove in full throttle.
They did, and you're correct. In the United States in the early 1900s, there were hundreds of what were referred to as trolley parks.
Yes.
And the reason that they developed those was to keep their weekend business solid, because people would ride the trolley between Huntington and Ashland during the week for work and shopping and so forth. But in the weekends, it dropped off. So the thought was, if we have a way to get them to an entertainment spot, and if you think about it, Camden Park is halfway between Huntington downtown and Ashland downtown.
Absolutely.
A place to do it. So you put on your Sunday best, you hop on the trolley, and you go down to see the Indian Mound, walk in the park, take your date with you. There was a lake down there in that era.
Yes.
And they had paddle boats. You just put yourself in that mindset. Pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. We were talking before we started recording about what is my favorite book, The Gate to Westmoreland. I've talked about it a million times on the podcast, but to read about the way it evolved over the years, about Camden Park evolving, it's so wondrous. You get lost in your imagination of what that must have been like as a young child doing that with your family. And I just think that's the coolest thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your earliest memory from the park.
I have to use the word family. And the reason I have to use that word family is that between the park opening every summer in late April through school starting the day after Labor Day, the park was only closed one day a week.
Oh, wow.
It was closed on Mondays. And other than that, it was open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 6 days a week. And my dad was there from 8 a.m. until midnight, and we'd get up again and do it the next day. We had our family dinners at Camden Park.
I believe it. That'd be the only way to see him.
Yeah. So the earliest memories I have is my mom loading us up and going down there and having family dinner in the Camden Park cafeteria, which had exceptional food. And you could pay 10 cents to go through the front gate and go back there. Anybody could walk in for 10 cents, and you could go to the cafeteria and have a full meal. And on Sundays after church, they were lined up out the door.
Oh, I believe it.
It just, that's the way that it was. And of course, I had to insist to ride the hand cars on the way back out.
Always. You always have to.
Great marketing of those kids' rides right there.
Yes, right there at the front, so you can't miss it.
What a deal.
I love that. Camden Park has been a Huntington icon for over a century. If you had to pick one thing that you're going to tell us today that people would be surprised to know, what would it be?
Well, It's what's buried at Camden Park.
Okay.
And this one will surprise people. And I think I'd like to take folks forward a few hundred years.
Okay.
And you can put yourself in a mindset where it's the year 2525, and an archaeologist happens onto Camden Park and decides that there's unusual things there and they just need to excavate it. And they start looking around and they get down 20 feet and they start finding some really strange things. Things that really shouldn't be present, buried 20 feet underground in Huntington, West Virginia.
In Huntington, West Virginia, right.
And I would imagine that there's someone out there right now driving their car or listening to this while they cut the grass or shovel snow that's saying, oh, he's going to talk about the Indian Mound.
It's always the Indian Mound.
That's not even close.
I'm excited for this. Like, I can hardly wait.
What will...
I'm such a little kid right
Suspense
now.
is building.
I know.
So,
this is so fun.
Let me kind of set the scene to where this archaeological dig is going to take place.
Okay.
So we know where we are, and then we'll get into what we're going to find and why it's there.
Okay.
You have gone into Camden Park today, and you get on the train. And you ride the train all the way around the loop. And you are almost back to the station. You have passed the area which now has a little pond and a swan boat ride.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a cinder block building off to your right that used to be a concession stand for the showground.
Yes.
You go just past that and you look off to the right, and there is a wide, flat spot to your right just before the station.
I know exactly what you're talking about because me and my daughter, when we were riding the train, we were like, we wonder what was there. Something had to be there.
So you start digging that spot, and you go down about 20 feet, and you're going to find bones. And you dig further, and you're going to find tusks. There is an elephant.
Is the elephant there?
Trixie the elephant.
Oh
is
my goodness!
beside the train at Camden Park.
How
Wow.
neat! I knew I was hoping we were going to talk about the elephants because I think that is the coolest thing in the world that they had on that one point in time.
Trixie was fabled down there, and some of this I have to say,
Trixie, I love it.
you know, the park had a very active zoo up until the very early 70s, and Trixie was housed in what we would consider today to be, frankly, inhumane conditions for an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We know better.
It was very small and
that
things like that.
No question.
Yeah.
But her enclosure was actually down in the ground somewhat. And what it was, as you cross the railroad tracks and you are walking down toward the Little Dipper and the log flume,
Mm-hmm.
on the right-hand side, you'll see a wall that is there, that is cinder block,
Yep.
that is
Yes.
that is partially still there.
Yes.
That was part of the, I'll just call it a pit, because actually that's what it was.
Yeah.
Where Trixie lived, and Trixie was high enough in that pit that she could put her trunk up. There was machines there that sold peanuts, and you could get peanuts out of the machine, and you could hold them up, and
Hold 'em and
Trixie
feed
would
her.
come over, and she would feed herself peanuts.
I love
That's
it.
great.
And she was a star attraction at Camden Park. But Trixie died unexpectedly. They literally found her deceased in her enclosure. And so now we've got a problem in that we got an elephant.
What do we do with this
How do you
giant
get this elephant?
animal? Yeah.
100%. And they literally took that, what is now a flat spot, and they dug another pit and they had to use a crane to lift
Lift
her
her.
out and move her just to the east and put her down in that pit and
Oh
cover
my
it back
goodness.
Wow.
up. So the remnants of an elephant are buried at Camden Park.
I would have never guessed that, ever.
On top of the Indian
You know,
burial
as
ground,
many
everything else
times,
that's there.
I was going to say, yeah, like the Indian burial ground, everybody knows it because that was like the thing that scared you when you were a kid when you
Sure.
came by in the trains, you know?
That's not
But
even a start.
who knew that Trixie was there? And I love that her name was Trixie. Like,
It is,
that's
yeah.
fantastic.
It just fits.
Yes.
Yeah, another interesting little zoo story. When Marshall had a live buffalo, a live Marco,
Yeah.
if you will, in the Fairfield Stadium days, he
Yes.
was kept at Camden Park.
Oh,
And
small world.
he was, if you're on the train again and you just leave the station, you make the little curve on the left-hand side, there was an enclosure there with big steel rails, and that's where Marco lived.
Okay.
And they cut a deal with Camden Park a couple times a year. They would get a stock trailer and they would load Marco up and take him to Fairfield Stadium. There are pictures out there. Thank heaven that Al Gore invented the internet, because now we can see this for all of us.
Yes.
But there's pictures out there, kind of grainy images of the day that Marco got loose on the ground at Fairfield Stadium.
Oh my gosh.
That was the last time that he left Camden Park.
Guarantee it.
And in that picture, my oldest brother, who's now deceased, but my oldest brother, Larry, actually was one of Marco's handlers and took him up there and was there that day that happened.
How funny.
There you
Could
go,
you-
Marshall
could
fans.
Could you imagine the fear?
Yeah.
What do we do? Marco's loose.
But they had an assortment of animals all through that zoo, and when they decided to sell or to close the zoo, all of the animals were purchased by other zoos, with the exception of one cockatoo. And this cockatoo was placed in a storage building out there, and my brothers were out there feeding it. And they come home to my mom, and I was a little guy. I was considerably younger than my brothers. And my brothers came to my mom, and they were just distraught. They said, this bird's just going crazy. He said, it's used to having all these people around it, and said the other zoos didn't buy it, and it's living in this storage building, and we're feeding it. And my mom, about the third time they came home, she gave in. She looked at my dad. She said, here's the deal. She said, if Camden Park buys the cage and the food, I'll take the bird.
Oh.
Richard lived with us for 25 years.
Oh my goodness. How funny.
These are wild stories.
These
I love
really
this.
are. I'm having like the most fun. I love all my previous guests. We love you, but I'm having so much fun right now. I'm like a
This
little
is-
kid in a candy
Well,
store.
a great tie-in to where we live and everything
Yes,
else.
it's so awesome.
Are there any rides or attractions that had unusual stories that maybe you could tell us a little bit about?
Well, I think that the key thing about that has to be the Big Dipper. And the first roller coaster that was built in Camden Park was built by the trolley company, the Camden Interstate Railway. And it was built in 1912, and it was called the New Sensation.
Yes.
And it had outlived its usefulness, and it's unusual to say this, but the Big Dipper and Camden Park have a direct tie-in to the Palmer House Hilton Hotel in downtown Chicago, which is still open today.
How so? I am dying. Like I am like on the edge of my seat all day today.
is
I can
good
already
stuff.
feel it. Yeah, this is wonderful.
So we have to go back to around 1956. The New Sensation is showing its age, and it needs replaced. And there is a desire to do that, and the funding is in place to do that. And my dad and Harry Nudd got on a train in Huntington and rode the train to Chicago to attend the convention of a group called the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions.
Now, not to interrupt you, but that's still a thing today, correct?
It absolutely
Okay,
is.
I thought so.
That's simply the trade group of amusement parks.
Okay.
And they have an annual convention that as a kid, when I went with my dad, it was like an amusement park candy store.
I can only imagine.
I have vivid memories of going on those trips with him and seeing the new rides that were coming out and where they were going, and it was fascinating. But in 1956, when they are ready to replace the new sensation, they go to Chicago and they meet these guys from a company called National Amusement, which is the company that actually built the roller coaster train, if you will. And they cut a verbal deal that National was going to construct the cars and bring the track and do all this, and Camden Park was going to design and was going to handle the lumber part construction of the roller coaster.
So like the frame.
Makes sense with the lumber we had tie-ins here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Canova. Canova was loaded with lumber yards.
Yes.
Hamer family, just huge
Ritter lumber, all the lumbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after they cut this verbal deal, my dad and Harry Nudd went to the bar at the Palmer House Hilton Hotel. And in a literal sense, the engineering mind of Harry Nudd, I can't say enough about it. The man was an engineering genius. And he sat at the bar and on the back of a napkin did the initial design of the Big Dipper that still stands at Camden Park today.
That's amazing.
Wow.
70 plus years
Yeah.
that roller coaster has stood, that started as a man's vision in Chicago at a bar
on the back of a napkin. I love that. Like, and I think all good business stories start with, we went back to the hotel bar.
That idea is on a napkin. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. So we've talked about, a few of the behind the scene things and things like that, but what is the strangest rumor that you've ever heard about Camden Park, and is there any truth to it?
100%. And this rumor is still there today. I have been to the park twice this year. It is a blessing to me to be able to take my grandson to that
Absolutely.
park.
My daughter loves it. She's 13 and she is obsessed.
So our little guy and our whole family have gone twice this year. And even my early 30s age daughters still like to ride the Big Dipper.
Absolutely.
And the most unfounded and incorrect, but still legend of a ride at Camden Park is there are snakes in the tunnel.
Oh my gosh, I remember when I was a kid.
100%.
Always heard that, and it
So-
terrified me.
2 weeks ago, we're at the park. And we're standing in line for a ride. And there's these little kids behind me, and I'm just kind of listening to their talk. And one of the little boys
love to
says,
listen to
I've always
them.
heard there's snakes in that tunnel. And I'm thinking, those snakes, they're like 70 years old.
Yeah,
Man,
they
what
should
great
be
snakes
dead
are-
at this time.
That's it.
Yeah, that's so funny because I remember that as a little kid. Like, because I actually am I'm terrified of snakes. That's one of my fears now to this day. And that was always my biggest fear, but I did it anyways because it was the thrill,
Oh, yeah.
You did it anyways.
There's snakes in
And
the
you
tunnel.
always sat in the very back seat too.
That adrenaline gets
you
going, you're
have
ready.
to. Yeah, you have to. You have to.
So let me ask you, were there any plans for rides or attractions that never got built, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. During the time that my dad and Harry were there was a lot of investment that the Boylan family made in keeping rides refreshed and moving them in, moving them out. There's a lot of pictures of rides that came and went. And, after my dad's death in 1981, and then after we were completely out of that minority stake, the park fell on hard times. There was no question. There were some gentlemen who were from Roanoke, Virginia, who bought the park and frankly used it only as an investment to make cash without being respectful of its place of importance in our community.
In our community,
and
right.
frankly, that was a sin. My dad and Harry and the Boylan family thought they were doing the right thing by selling the park to these guys. Thankfully, well after my dad's death, and this sounds terrible to say it's thankfully, but thankfully those guys from Virginia defaulted on the notes. And
Sound like that was destined to happen with the way that they got into it for the wrong reasons.
There's no doubt. Well, it was a little shady. They also owned a small park down in Roanoke called Lakeside, and Lakeside had a huge flood. It was the trolley park of Roanoke. And in 1985, when so much of West Virginia was decimated by flooding, it also affected the Roanoke Valley. Lakeside was lost. They took the entire insurance payment for an entire amusement park and put it in their pockets.
Of course they
instead
did.
of rebuilding the park. So when they defaulted on the loans to get, that they bought Camden Park with, thankfully, the Boylan family stepped back in and saved the park, no question. Now people can come back, and it's very easy to sit back and be a keyboard warrior and say the park's not kept up. We need new rides. We need this. We need that. I'm thankful.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm thankful that it's there today because it sounds like we were
100%.
very, very close to losing it.
We were so close to losing Camden Park, you could taste it. Those guys sold off those wooden carousel horses. Another sin.
Yes.
So many things went wrong, but the Boylan family understands this legacy, and the grandson, and I'm assuming great-grandchildren of J.P. Boylan, who my dad and Harry worked with, they've done the right thing by that park because they get it. And anyone who says they should do this or should do that need to know that stuff costs a lot of money. I'm thankful for whatever they do to keep that park alive.
You're not kidding.
Absolutely.
I tell people, put your money where your mouth is.
That really is your go-to.
Everybody wants to judge. It's like, well, try to help out, have a solution.
Yeah. Well,
I can't imagine even the cost of insurance.
Oh, can you imagine?
That's always like where my head goes. We were actually talking. We took our daughters to Camden Park earlier this summer, and my daughter loves the sky lift. Like that's her thing. And another thing I'm afraid of, heights. That's my two things, snakes and heights. And I'm up there, and I just keep thinking, I'm seeing these little kids, come around us on the other side, and I'm like, what is stopping them from just raising that and jumping right out down into the, the golf course or something, And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the insurance liability on that risk alone. Like not even talking about tripping and falling or any little thing like that. But one thing that I am very impressed with, even with hearing, those keyboard warriors and things like that, and everyone always has something negative to say online, I feel like I was so impressed by how clean the grounds were.
Yeah.
We never once, even in the restrooms, and I remember back in the day, it being so busy in there that they couldn't keep up with the bathrooms. People would break the locks on the bathroom doors. Do you remember when you had to pay like a dime or a nickel or something like that?
Yeah.
I bought my first car off those dimes.
Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for your contribution.
Really glad you had me.
Yeah, it was funny because my daughter Carly, she was asking me, she was like, what is this on the door? And I said, well, you used to have to put a coin in it to use the restroom. I said that kept it down from people coming in here and just messing around and destroying things.
Yep.
And I said, because if you weren't going to go in there and waste your coin, you had no business going in there. So that kept down on that kind of stuff. And she was like, that's crazy. I can't imagine. And I was like, it was just part of it. Like it was part of the experience. And I started telling her about the roller rink and how it was long before us, and she always makes fun of me because the carousel is my favorite ride of all the rides. I mean, I like the Big Dipper. I mean, it's the thrill seeker, but just sitting there and relaxing and hearing that music and just kind of seeing the other people also take their break from the sun, and, you know, the little kids just in awe that they're going up and down. And I just always love that. But it's so funny to look at it from a child's standpoint now as an adult and think about the things that they're just mind blown by, like a little things such as the coin in the bathroom door. You know, so funny.
Yeah, talking about the Skyliner and that insurance connection, there was a really bad incident down there around probably 1976 or 77. And it was early in the season. And what had occurred was there was a school group from one of the counties down in southeast Kentucky in the Big Sandy Valley that brought a school group up to the park for the day. And the children were riding all the rides. There was a young lady who got on the Skyliner and was riding it. And as you're on the Skyliner and you're going past the pavilion on your right as you're heading east with the big metal cover over it, there was a speaker that was mounted on that was part of the park's PA system. And when it was time for this school group to begin to load the buses, the teachers had the park office make an announcement that all students with the whatever elementary school needed to report to the gate.
Make their way to the front, yeah.
And this girl was on the Skyliner and was afraid they wouldn't wait for her, and she did exactly what you just said. She literally raised the bar and jumped out onto the golf course.
Goodness gracious.
And, of course, clearly she ended up in the hospital. It was nothing the park did.
Right.
But she was on there by herself on that specific Skyliner car. And as I recall, she had some fractures and she was in the hospital, but
I guarantee it.
Okay.
Thank God that was it.
Oh,
yeah.
100%. But in her little elementary mind, they're
going to leave me. Yeah. My Carly would
do
do that. Like, I could see my Carly doing that. She's so ditzy.
Yeah, that was my dad and Harry had a really bad day that day.
Yeah,
I guarantee it. Yeah.
That's a lot to take.
That's a lot to take in. I've always wondered about that. And actually, this is totally random. But last night I was scrolling TikTok, going down the rabbit hole of amusement park different things, and because my head's always in the podcast. So a ride on a cruise carnival line, a water slide, broke off, and a gentleman came through it out on the cruise line. Like, I was just like, imagine the bad day not only is that person having, but the staff and everyone else that witnessed it and things like that. I can't imagine being on vacation and something so terrible happening. And I laugh because it's one of those things that make you uncomfortable because it could happen to anyone. Accidents happen anywhere. So I can only imagine how bad of a day that was for your father and his friends and all the other people around. And I'm sure all the little kids that were there that day with them. Also,
100%.
That's a lot of trauma. That really is. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, we've already talked about it a little, but talk more about how Camden Park shaped the identity of Huntington and the Tri-State. I mean, we've talked about people coming in from counties from in Kentucky. I'm sure they came over from Ohio. It really became this icon of family fun. And that clown was right in the center of it, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, the tagline for Camden Park in advertising for decades was the Tri-State's favorite playground.
Favorite playground. I love that.
And it was. That was a good tagline that really mattered. And the sign of the happy clown really personifies that. As I've talked to people in my adult years, in some way or the other, the discussion turns to Camden Park. They will talk about these trips to Huntington and in my job, I spend a lot of time in southern West Virginia, southeast Kentucky, and people will talk about that. Oh, when I was a kid, we'd go to Camden Park, and we didn't have Route 23, which was 4-lane, and we wound on the 2-lane roads, and it seemed like it took forever, and we would always stretch and look to see who could see the clown
Who
first.
could see it first? Oh, I love
Makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
And you're there.
That's cute.
And the Happy Clown actually has its own storied history that goes past Camden Park, but is also in other places in Westmoreland.
Really?
That's a fact.
Oh.
So the predecessor of the Happy Clown is setting over, well, not anymore, was setting over in an area north of Cincinnati near Middletown, Ohio.
Okay.
There was a park over there called LaSwordsville Lake. And LaSwordsville Lake was also a family-owned park. And those guys in this region kind of had a camaraderie. Same thing down in Bowling Green, Kentucky at Beach Bend Park. We made an annual pilgrimage to see our friends at Beach Bend Park.
I've heard of stories of it.
It's just what we did.
Yeah.
And so we would go to these parks because my dad knew these guys and we became friends. And my dad and Harry took a trip to LaSwordsville Lake to see their new sign. And they were enamored by LaSwordsville Lake sign.
Yeah.
And they found out that it was constructed by a company called the Stark Sign Company. And they came back to West Virginia and they reached out to Stark Sign Company and they said, we want something that looks similar to the sign at LaSwordsville Lake. And they came back with this design and they constructed what is now the Happy Clown. Well, while they were constructing the Happy Clown, east of Camden Park on Waverly Road, right beside Chandler's, there was a group that was getting ready to build a new drive-in called the Parkette.
Mm-hmm.
They went down to Camden Park and talked to the guys from the Stark Sign Company and said, could you make us a sign for our drive-in? And they said, certainly, we'll sell all the signs that you want to buy.
Absolutely.
So the Parkette, of course, closed. It was torn down. Chandler's uses that spot as a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
The sign for the Parkette is the base of that is now the sign, the upright sign for Chandler's.
Oh.
And I want you the next time you drive by to look at the base of that sign. The block on the base of that sign is identical to the block on the base of the Camden Park Happy Clown.
Now, we're both Westmorelanders, so we'll
yeah.
be on our
You'll
way
see it
home.
this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll be singing on our way home.
It is identical to the brick on the base of the LaSwordsville Lake sign, and it's also identical to the brick on the base of the remnants of the roller rink because the roller rink was built at the same time.
Oh, how funny.
Makes sense. I can picture all of it.
That's so cool. I loved the roller rink. Man, that was so fun.
One of the worst days of my life. I had such fun there. And, growing up, if my dad was going to go to work in the wintertime for a few hours on a weekend, I'd call friends, hey, my dad's going to work, swing by and pick you up, we'll go skating. Not a soul there but us.
Yeah, how fun.
Wintertime, parks closed, cold, call some friends, bundle up, hey, you want to go knock our teeth out on the Dodgem for a couple hours? Okay. And we would.
That's so fun. I remember it being such a big deal that my grandma would give me the money to get in and then $1 to spend at concessions, so I could usually get like a soda and a candy bar, at which those were the days when you could do that.
You're not kidding.
It was the days when you could do a lot cheaper, I'm sure, too. But I just remember saving my dollar. That way I could go to the theme park as well. And like I would save it. That way I didn't have to ask my grandma for the money to go into the park. And I'm like, Grandma, can I go? Blah, 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 blah. Well, we don't really have It's okay. I have it, Grandma. It's fine. I just didn't have soda and a candy bar all winter long while we were going skating.
You were a careful consumer.
Yes. So I loved skating there so much. And we lived right down in Canova, near the oil tanks. We lived in that area of Canova. And, I mean, aside from breaking in and climbing the oil tanks, Camden Park was like the next best thrill that we could do, So it was really exciting. You've talked a little bit about the connections along the way from out-of-town people and companies and things like that. Are there any hidden features or forgotten spots on the ground that come to mind at all?
And one of those is as you are walking down toward the cafeteria and you go just past that entrance, on the left-hand side there are some doors there that go into a building, which I don't know what they use it for anymore, probably storage. But that was a small restaurant that was called the Malt Shop.
Okay.
And they made fresh malts, and they also had things like hot dogs and hamburgers and milkshakes. But everything was just made fresh. And I think that at the time it's just what happened, but today we think about it more about buying local.
Right.
And the malt shop was the quintessential place that it was personified that we bought local, because the malt shop was filled with hot dogs and hamburgers from Buddy Logan at SS Logan Packing Company. Earl Heiner's buns were just part of Camden Park. When I was working there, on busy days, my dad would look at me and he'd say, "Go up to Heiner's, get a truckload of buns, we're going to run out." And I'd drive that pickup truck up there and we'd load up buns. I didn't even sign my name.
Yeah, they just knew you. I love it.
Well, they knew the park was good for us.
Yeah.
Sure.
The relationship between the business owners in this community in that era was one of trust.
Absolutely.
And whatever we needed, if we needed 500 extra bags of ice from the ice house on 7th Avenue, we got 500 bags of ice, no questions asked. That's the relationship that those folks had at this time. And I think to a certain degree, that's lost, and that's sad.
I think so too. And I think that's probably been a part of my favorite part of listening to you tell this story, is these relationships between all these different people that made this amazing thing happen for the community. And you don't have that anymore. You wouldn't even go to like a Kings Island and imagine them going down the street to pick up something local. Everything is being shipped in by semis and, all the things. And I think, like you said, that was definitely the support local, if I ever have heard it. I think that's really cool. I hate that I missed out on that. That sounds really awesome.
It was a special time, but at the same time, it's just times you live through, and I think as we age, everybody finds things that they reminisce about that aren't there just because of the evolution of society. Not to
absolutely
sound like a sociologist, but it just happens.
Sure.
Yeah. If you look back on that, but I do look at that as a positive.
Gives you a level of comfort thinking about the past and then trying to rekindle with that a little bit.
And I will forever be thankful to Buddy Logan for his hot dogs, the Cavalier Wieners, because they sit at the core of a Pronto Pup.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And a Pronto Pup is a thing of magic.
It really is. And for those of you at home that so we have listeners all over.
Right.
So some of them have never been to our area before, but they just love our stories and to
Yeah.
listen in. But a Pronto Pup, it's essential. You don't go to Camden Park without getting one.
That's a fact. And here's the tragedy, is that some people see that hot dog on a stick with coating around it, and they make the strategic error of referring to that piece of, it's a delicacy, but they refer to it
Yes.
as a corn dog.
Yes.
Always,
And
yeah.
they are
And that-
mistaken. They are mistaken.
That is sacrilegious right there, because a Pronto Pup is not a corn dog, and a corn dog will never measure up to a Pronto Pup, but few people know why.
Let's hear it.
Because
This is like the best day ever, Jason. I'm so happy.
because Pronto Pups, the flour is not cornmeal based. Rather, it is based on a derivative of pancake batter.
Makes sense.
Sweet.
A little sweet and
So
salty.
it's
Yeah.
sweeter, and it's softer, and it doesn't have that crunchy outer layer, and it gives more flavor. Now, Pronto Pups originated on the other side of America
Oh, really?
in Oregon,
Okay.
and they came about because of a fluke. There was a guy out there in Oregon who had a hot dog stand, but he didn't like it that his hot dog buns got ruined when they had a lot of rain because of the moisture in the air.
right.
So he was trying to think of something that he could cook that would allow him to be able to use the wieners that he had purchased. And he came up with this product, and he ended up marketing it to parks and so forth across the country. And Camden Park picked up the Pronto Pup, and frankly, when the fire happened, it took out the roller rink and the office and the skee ball. We lost the Pronto Pup stand, which it sounds corny to somebody who doesn't know how much the Pronto Pup stand meant to this community.
It really did. It meant so
Yeah,
much.
It
it
did.
definitely did.
And I'm glad that the Boylan family today still dip Pronto Pups. By Pronto Pup law, you can't serve ketchup with them. That's
No.
that's
That's right.
No, that'll
you
ruin
can
it.
brush a little mustard, but they're best in their natural state. But there are actually Pronto Pup stands in Oregon. You can buy Pronto Pup kits for your home off of the Pronto Pup website.
I just figured out what we're doing
if
next
you
weekend.
And if you get real squirrely, you can go to Oregon, and in front of a Pronto Pup stand is a little machine that if you were walking out of a grocery store at some point, you probably put a dime in a machine and there was a little horse there.
Yeah.
It would say ride Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
You can ride a Pronto Pup.
Oh my God.
You can ride a Pronto Pup. in
You
Oregon.
guys-
They marked it all the way.
You are going to die when you see this. We will share this with you on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. And
Now, did
so-
you pull this from their website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get into the Pronto Pup,
Oh my gosh, Jason, this is
mystery hole,
hilarious.
yeah, there's fun stuff out there on Pronto.
I can hear all the inappropriate comments my husband would have to say.
Yeah, we'll leave that for another.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, like that's so funny.
That is so
And
good.
this is what, and I'm looking at, this young lady riding the Pronto Pup. It's saddled up. It's got, the places for you to put your feet and everything else. And this is what road trips were made of.
100%.
absolutely.
So my husband, we were just having this conversation because we just got back from vacation, and he's I want to hurry up and get to wherever we're going in the exact time that GPS tells us we're going to make it. And I am more of a, let's leave half a day early or a day early, and let's stop as many places as we can,
Right.
not only to stretch our legs, but I want to see the giant strawberry on the way to Myrtle Beach. I want to see he makes fun of me so bad for this. But anyone that goes to Myrtle Beach, and a lot of us do in this area, there is this place, if you go one direction right before Bennettsville, that is this huge concrete, like they make yard ornaments. They're massive.
I know exactly where you're talking
And
about. Yep.
I just think it looks like an amusement park to me. It looks so fun, and he will not let me go there. And the one time I was driving that I could have went, they were closed, and I was so bummed. But this is exactly what road trips were made of: is for picture moments like this and memories
True
like
memories,
this.
yeah.
Yes,
It's roadside America.
yes, I love it. I love it so much.
So, Camden Park has been around obviously long enough to collect its own version of ghost stories. Any tales that are worth sharing with our listeners of something you might know?
I don't know of any actual ghost stories that I've ever heard. I don't think Trixie's hanging around there in spirit.
Good luck if you run into her.
Right.
That surprised
Watch
you.
that tusk. I don't think that's the case. But there was always legends related to that Indian mound, and I think it's wonderful that the Indian mound has never been excavated.
Me
I do too as well.
There's been so many of those that have been. I think it adds a little mystery to the thing. I think that it's respectful to leave it as is, and I think we're better off not knowing what archaeology lays in
I agree.
there.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a fact, and the other thing that people used to walk by the Indian Mound a lot, and some of your older listeners will remember this. You would walk past the Indian Mound, wind behind the cafeteria, go down the hill to 12 Pole Creek down a paved road, and you could climb on the Camden Queen.
Camden Queen.
We just talked about it.
We were just talking about it on an episode.
Memories.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Camden Queen came there. There was a gentleman here in town who was a riverboat pilot by trade who had retired from the barge lines and had bought that stern wheeler and brought it to Huntington. And he went to my dad and Harry and said, I think we can make a go at bringing this boat here.
Yeah.
And those guys were always... it's kind of like the Mad Men days from the television show.
I love that show.
Yeah, so they sat and they thought about how they can promote the Camden Queen, and they decided that they needed a guy to be the spokesman for their TV commercials who looked like and acted like Mark Twain.
Okay.
And so the Camden Queen TV ads were predicated on that, about riding the old steamboat and that sort of thing. And but the riverman's name was Gene Lister, and he was a good man, and he ran that on a revenue sharing program where the park would advertise it and sell the tickets. They would keep a portion, and Mr. Lister would keep a portion, and he would run those boat rides out there. And it was very successful. But then Gene was ready to totally retire, and the boat was sold. But thankfully, the boat still floats and serves today.
Oh, that's awesome. I was getting ready to ask that.
It is up on a canal up in the upper part of New York, and it runs under the name of the Caldwell Bell.
Caldwell Bell.
And I just saw this summer, and if you're listening to this at some other point, this is the summer of 2025, so this may already be, but I saw where the Caldwell Bell was for sale.
Oh,
and,
boy.
And instantly I popped that out
Business
on Facebook, and I
opportunity,
say,
Jason.
we need a GoFundMe. We need to bring the Camden Queen
not
home.
We
kidding.
absolutely
How cool
do.
would that
That
be?
would be so fun.
It would be magical. I don't know who would drive it, who would maintain it, but to get her home would be
Bring it
something.
home and the rest will follow.
Yes.
But,
oh my gosh, that'd
But
be
I'm
so
glad
fun.
she's still around.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that families can still enjoy that time together.
Absolutely.
On board. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. We were actually talking about how where it costs a little bit more to do the boat ride.
Sure did, yeah.
About how like sometimes we got to do it, sometimes we didn't, and it was really a big bummer when your friends were taking off down the canal there, and you're just, I guess I'll go ride the Big Dipper while you're gone,
Yeah, you can still cruise 12 pole. You just have to do it in a rowboat.
You just have to do it in a rowboat. And we've done that a few times, my husband and I, because he likes to fish in those stupid little john boats that seem so dangerous to me. I would assume I would rather the Big Dipper be on fire and me still be riding it as opposed to getting in a john boat. Those things freak me out so bad. I don't know if it's the fear of what's in the water or just getting wet in general, but I don't like it at all. How do you think that the park has kept its nostalgic feel over the years?
Tradition within families. And you have alluded to this through this conversation. You had a great time growing up at Camden Park. And one of the things that you wanted to do was take your daughter.
Yes.
And your daughter's having fun at Camden Park right now.
It's so funny how much she loves it. Like, Jason gets a kick out of it because I'm like, Carly, do you want to go to Kings Island this weekend? Can we just go to Camden Park?
She's like the mascot of Camden Park.
Yeah, she really could be their spokesperson.
Yeah. And there will come a day that she'll take her children to Camden Park. And that's the magic of that place. It's easy to say it's not Disney World. It's easy to say it's not Kings Island, and all of that is fact.
Yes.
But it's also fact that place matters to this community.
Absolutely.
Because of what it means to our families. And granted, I grew up in the place. It's very special to our family. I took my daughters there, and they had a ball. But you know what? We're taking that grandson.
You're taking the grandson now.
He's ready to turn 3. And that is just as magical to me, watching his eyes light up day after day when we go there. And that's what keeps Camden Park special.
I remember, as you say that, I'm reflecting on the first time I took my son, he's 23, he just turned 23. The very first time that we took him to Camden Park, all he wanted to do was ride those little boats.
100%.
The little boats was like everything to him. I have a picture of
me in that little boat.
I have a picture, yes. So I have a picture of James in the little boats, and he is just living his best life. And my little brother, they're pretty close in age, my little brother and my son, and they're just sitting on the boat together. My brother's got his arm like around James because he was smaller. We didn't want him jumping out and jumping in that little bit of water and all that. But
so think about that picture, and think about how many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pictures are sitting in people's homes, maybe in dusty boxes or wherever they may be, of children at Camden Park that are in homes in our region.
Absolutely,
it's what keeps people coming back.
It's funny.
It is a snapshot of what matters in our communities.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's so funny that like you just said, Jason, I have a picture of me on that boat.
I do. Yeah.
I don't have any photos of me at Camden Park as a kid. Like it wasn't that big of a thing to have cameras back then. I mean, I'm sure they exist somewhere, but with house fires and things like that, they fell along the way. But I think I may have just found my new calling. I'm going to do a deep dive on everybody. Send me all of your Camden Park photos. Let's do it over the years, because I think that would be really cool to have. That'd be really cool to see. And they've got all those buildings. Maybe I can talk the family into, hey, can I start a little memorial in here? Can we do
I remember my first memories there at Camden, and my grandfather telling me that when he was a little boy and his mother taking him, and even now I catch myself still thinking about them being there as he is a kid and his mom being there with him.
Yeah, walking the same streets.
Yeah,
the same areas, the same little avenues.
It's just
That's
another
so cool.
little piece to think about is first dates at Camden Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because safe, visible, public place,
Right.
good little getaway, have some fun, casual
Break the
environment.
ice, laugh. Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Play some games.
And try to show off and win the girl.
Yes. Get the big gorilla or the teddy bear,
Those are just pieces of, this will sound a little corny, but it's really pieces of this puzzle that makes the place what it is.
I agree. The one thing I was, not to be gloomy and doomy, but the one thing I was very sad about is where the little frog pond, like where you hit with the hammer, that's like a seating area, which is great to have a little seating area for food and get out of the sun. But man, how I love that game. I never won that game ever in my life, but I would have had so much fun. I was telling my daughter about it, and I was explaining to her how you did it, and she was like, you skyrocketed real frogs? And I was like, no, they weren't real, And she just could not wrap her head around why we would put frogs on this catapult and and I said, if you hit it just right, you could get it across and hit somebody across the way. Yeah. I said that was always mine and my cousin's favorite thing to do. We were little hellions.
That game was known as the Frog Bog.
The Frog Bog. Okay.
Yeah, that was the frog.
Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was the coolest thing. And something I do find really cool that they are doing today, they do have what was a arcade back when I was much younger, which the arcade is still there, but it's now in a building a little further back and it's smaller. But in that front part, they now have like a souvenir shop and all that kind of stuff. But I remember like it just being so hot, and that's all I would beg for. Can I have some tokens to go play the skee ball? That was like my favorite thing, So I wanted to go play the skee ball and get out of that hot sun, because when we were there all day. We would take a cooler. And you would, if you were lucky, you were there on a night when they had entertainment. I remember very vividly seeing my very first country concert there. I remember very many times seeing Mr. Billy Ray Cyrus there. There was so many just fun moments from my childhood that, again, I love now that the Wayne County Fair is at Camden Park.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I love that we can say down here in Westmoreland, well, we're in Huntington now, but where we live in Westmoreland, that's home. It's in our backyard. That's a part of who we are. So it's so cool to have that. I guess
about country music and Camden Park were hand in hand. From the time that my dad and Harry first got involved with the park, they knew a draw would be to bring in. They couldn't bring in whatever at any era was the
person.
Exactly. Yeah. They got up and comers because they could afford it. But one little story that went through our family for decades was something that happened down there in the early days of them bringing in country stars. There was a little girl who was an emerging star at 12 years old who played Camden Park. And they didn't have a showground at that time.
Okay.
And they sat her up on the midway, and she had a hit song out, and people loaded the midway to watch this little girl. And the problem was she was so short, which she still is now. There's a hint. And they couldn't see her.
Oh, no.
And the little girl at 12 years old asked for a ladder, and she took her microphone and her wire, and she climbed the ladder and did her songs from the roof of the ice cream stand on the midway.
Here's me over here having anxiety because I'm thinking of all the height of it all.
And the little girl still is, Brenda Lee of lots of country songs, but we hear her most rocking around the Christmas tree.
Rocking around the Christmas tree, yes.
And Brenda Lee played Camden Park.
I did not know that. That's so funny. And, how brave of her at 12 to be like, let's fix this. Give me a ladder.
And the thing about Brenda Lee is that they always talked about that she's a little petite lady.
Yeah.
But, she played Camden Park early in her career as a little girl.
That's really cool. That's so neat.
You'll never look at the top of the ice cream stand.
I know. It's so cool because I'm thinking, imagine being, 11, 12, 13, and being in that crowd, oh my gosh, she got to go on top of the ice cream truck. That's so, I think that's so cool.
The other story about this was that my dad often told related to Brenda Lee being there. And that would have been probably around 1957, something like that. But she was still a little girl at heart. And my dad always laughed that the park for years always had country stars there. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and on each side of that. And they always did 4 30-minute shows a day, 12:30, 3, 5:30, and 8 fireworks at 10.
Yeah, fireworks at
Yeah,
10.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's how we
And-
scheduled our day. Meet here at this time, meet here when this one goes off, and then at fireworks, everybody has to be at the gate waiting.
And Brenda Lee would do her set. And then my dad laughed. He said she came to the office, and she was, a little country girl, but she was still a girl at heart. And she's in an amusement park.
Uh-huh.
She wants to ride those
And
rides.
she goes into the office, and she says, "Mr. Burley, I'd really like to have some tickets to ride rides."
Oh, I
love that.
love
And
it. Yeah.
the little girl, the country star, in between her sets, rode rides at Camden Park.
That's so awesome.
You know what? And to our listeners, you will never, ever think about Brenda Lee the same again when you hear that Christmas song, because it's going to go as long as we live.
I absolutely.
You're going to think about her on the ice cream and asking for tickets to go ride
Asking-
Camden Park.
Right.
Thank you for that story. That's awesome.
It's really awesome. Kind of in the sense of we've talked about the past a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the future. If you think the park, or is there a ride that you think that the park or a new attraction could add to maybe revive a little? If there is one thing you could think of, what would it be?
I think that they did a great service to our community in the leading up to the 1981 season when they put in the log flume.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
think that really mattered. And I think when I look at the rides that are out there today, I think it would be good to put in one of those, and I don't know what the names these things would be.
Oh,
but
they always have crazy names.
one of the drop type rides
Yes.
where you sit in the chair and you go up the lift and then it just simply drops.
Yes.
I could see that setting right in the very front of the park, perhaps in the area where the paratrooper is, and I cherish that paratrooper, but somewhere in that area that's very visible from Route 60.
Yeah.
I think it would be a marquee ride.
So I don't know if you know something that we don't know, and you don't have to tell us, but actually when we were at Camden Park the last time, one of the workers told us that the paratrooper has broke down and they are not going to repair it. So it is actually going to be taken out soon. So maybe it can
I
happen.
was set down by that, but I tell you, this is good news.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't speak
Sure.
to the
Right,
Burley
absolutely,
family. I don't
absolutely.
talk to them. I mean, I have such respect for what they're doing. Don't read anything into that.
Right.
But I don't have any inside knowledge. But I have noticed this year that the paratrooper isn't running.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wondered about that. So I wouldn't be surprised. So perhaps that's something. But I mean,
And that could just be worker hearsay. I don't know. So don't take
Well, that's
it.
the
Don't take it
ultimate-
and run.
it's the
But
ultimate
it has
spot.
not been running this summer.
It hasn't, yeah.
So
and I,
And it's a
that
great one.
ride was installed easily in the mid '60s, if
oh
not
wow.
earlier.
Yeah.
So it's done its
It
service.
did. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite rides, we'll talk about the rides for a minute. This is kind of off track here. But my favorite ride was the Spider for many, many
Very
years.
good ride, yeah.
Because you could see the whole park when you got to the highest point. And you could look to see, like, okay, my friends from school are over there. Mom and dad are over there. Like, here's where I'm going to go when I get off this ride. What line is longer? Which one's shorter? Where should we go? But we were actually there the day that it broke. One of the, you know how like the bottom closed up, one came open when the ride was going,
Yeah.
and I think it was a little boy. I nobody quote me on that, but like I think his legs got hurt a little bit, but he was able to be taken out in an ambulance,
Right.
and he was fine. Like it was a local kid, actually that lived out in Wayne. I remember that specifically because I remember being on WSAZ and it being like a big, small town hoopla. But I was so sad that they didn't bring it back. I was so sad about it, and I loved it so much. But now it's just kind of a fence there, and it's just kind of depressing as an
It
adult.
looks a little sad. I'll say
Yeah.
that the Spider was never a popular ride that people wanted to operate.
Really?
more people threw up on the Spider than any other ride in the
They
country.
always did have the water hose right there so they could spray them out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The water hose at the Spider got a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the ride operators were like, oh my gosh, you're putting me on a Spider today? Oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, I'm going to have to spray that stuff all day long. Because that's where it happened. You know, you have you a molt, you have you a Pronto Pup, maybe wash that down with...
Go do some spins.
And then you get to see it
Good
again.
old hot day.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I would think that the Scrambler would be that way because that's the one that kind of makes me a little pukey now as an adult. It never did when I was a kid, but as an adult now, I can't do it anymore. Like
It literally went up, down, and all around. I mean, that ride was the ride.
It really did. And, you know, we were just talking about the log flume. While we were in Myrtle Beach, we went to Family Kingdom, and they have a log flume as well. But it's like intense. It has a really deep drop. Scared the bejesus out of me. I was not prepared for it. And I was like, thank God that ours at home doesn't do this because I don't know that I would ride it because it drops down like under the ground a little bit. You can see where they've dug the track and it's below ground a little bit. So I just wasn't expecting it. And I was like, goodness gracious, like this is a lot for me.
The predecessor of the log flume in that space was the West Virginia Turnpike.
Oh, okay.
And those were motorized cars that initially did not have one of the center tracks for the cars to go on. And you could just simply drive all the way back through there in these cars. And then eventually they put in that track and to kind of keep the cars a little more controlled. But they wanted to retire that, and they did install that. And that's an unusual flume ride where the vast majority of the ride is actually at ground level. Most log flumes, you go up, you go around, and you come down. That ride actually... as far as ride operators, the log flume has several different places for operators to be, and one of those is the very top of the final big drop.
There's usually one at both.
Correct.
Well, there was last time we were there.
And that one at the top, that is the most prestigious and preferred spot for ride operators who happen to be teenage boys to work in the entire park.
I guarantee it. I guarantee
You
it.
know, they go down that first little hill and they get wet on those tops, and then they climb that
Game
next
changer.
hill
Yeah.
and look out. And if you pay close attention at the top of that ride, the seat where the ride operator sits always sets up a little higher so they're above the log as it comes through.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
That's
That's
great.
fantastic. And not to say, I mean, it's a little bit of changing the subject. I was very surprised by the one that I rode at Family Kingdom. It was very violent, the water moved very quickly. So you're just getting like roared around in that water because the
More
tracks
like a roaring rapids ride.
Yes, it really was, and it made me thankful for ours, like for how calm it was. It was funny because my daughter was like, Mom, we got so much more wet on that one. And I was like, well, I think probably ours was probably anticipated to be like this, but maybe a lot of people didn't like it because I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
It was not for me. What do you hope that people will remember about Camden Park 50 years from now?
I will say the same thing we started with, and that's family. Because the fabric, well, I should say the thread, I guess, that has woven this discussion together all comes back to memories made within those 26 acres with friends and family. And that's really what's important there. And yeah, it may have lost some of its luster through the years, but the excitement of kids going in there and having a good day,
Yes.
and the parents being able to watch their children have fun and make those memories together, that's what gives that acreage its magic. And
I
I
agree.
think that 50 years from now, there will be people that will be talking like we're talking today about their memories of being at Camden Park.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
there's not many things in life that generation after generation after generation of families can talk about that has brought such joy and happiness to so many people and it's still there. You see things on Facebook, somebody puts something out about Camden Park, and people just pour in comments.
Oh, I wish they would do this. I wish they'd put in that.
And then people that live far away, oh my gosh, when I was growing up, I was there all the time. And posting things like we've commented about today, all that stuff is just so neat.
Absolutely. I think it's always fun to read the comments. And I do this a lot with Safety Town as well. There is a group I'm sure you're a member of on Facebook. I'm sure you are, Jason, as well. You grew up in Huntington,
Yeah.
And I think his name is Maurice.
Maurice Hurt.
Okay, Maurice Hurt.
Retired Huntington firefighter.
Yes.
Dear friend of mine.
Wonderfully smart man.
Yep.
And he'll do these posts, and you can tell he's really thought them out, and he speaks so well. And when he puts, I guess, fingers to type, instead of word to mouth or pen to paper, people just are moved by that, and they will get on there and share their memories. And that group is just so fun for that very reason of the memories that people pop up. I love those closed groups because you don't get as many as the naysayers that are, they need this, they need that, they need to do better. It's the people, oh my gosh, just like you talked about, I went there, I took my children there, and now I'm taking my grandchildren there. And it's a beautiful thing. We're very blessed to have it. We really are. I told Jason, we were having lunch right before this, and I said, I didn't realize that we were the only theme park in West Virginia.
Correct.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Shawnee Park was down in the Bluefield area.
Mm-hmm.
It closed ages ago.
And it was kind of nothing compared to Camden Park size-wise, right?
Several rides, about 10 acres, also family-owned, but not near the size and scope of what Camden is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So in closing, what I'd like to kind of do, and I already know, I think, I always try to think of what would you describe Camden Park in one word, but I think I already know what it is.
Yeah, it comes back to family.
Absolutely.
You can't look at it as a destination like Disney World and where you plan for 3 years to go and you go down there and a mouse steals your wallet and you leave empty. It's not like that. It's affordable family fun that means something to people, and you can go a few times a summer and leave your cares out by the Happy
Absolutely.
Clown.
Yes.
He'll take care of them, and you can pick them up on the way back out, and you can get back to life and stop at Austin's Ice Cream on the way out. That's always a blessing as well. But that's what it comes down to, Jason.
Really
and I think that we can't lose sight of that. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of secrets there. But the fun thing is, it's there.
It's there. Yeah. Absolutely. And, year round, I know I keep talking about my daughter, but there is not a day that we don't drive by Camden Park if it's closed, if it's not the season, Oh, Mom, and she'll know the exact number of days until their opening day. And she counts it down. Buddy, she is on it.
I love that.
And she will count down until the Spooktacular. She's ready for that. She, in fourth or fifth grade, I forget which one, they walk from the elementary school down in Westmoreland from Kellogg, and they still do that field trip. So, that year, she counted down the days of their walk to Camden Park.
So, to that, I would say she doesn't take Camden Park for granted.
No, not at all.
And
she loves it.
I think that that's something that we also have to keep in our mind, is that we drive by it on Waverly Road. It's just part of the fabric of our community.
Absolutely.
And you may be a Camden Park naysayer or whatever it may be, but the reality is, don't take that park for granted. Take the time to walk through the gate, go in there and enjoy it, do your part to help keep it here for the next generation. Because if we take things for granted in our community, we'll lose them. And we can look around us and see where that's happened a lot.
Absolutely.
We don't want that happening to Camden Park.
Couldn't agree more.
I agree. And I think with that, I think that's a great place to wrap up. And you guys, if you have stuck with us for the last hour and 20 minutes, then congratulations, because you've got patience for one, but you also love history like we do, and you clung to it like I have this entire time. This has really been one of the most fun episodes that we've recorded in a long time. We have a lot of really serious stuff, and sometimes it gets heavy, and this has been nothing but pure joy.
A true privilege.
So I am so thankful for you reaching out, and I'm sorry that it took us so long to get connected.
It is quite all right. I've had such fun with you. I love that place, and that place is in my heart.
Absolutely.
And it's in my family's heart, and just glad to share some of this stuff and some of that fun stuff, and just stay dry on the log flume.
That's right.
All right, guys, we are out of here.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Tri-State Time Machine, brought to you by Alex R. White, PLLC, at SueDistractedDriver.com. If you have a memory you want Vanessa to talk more about, just send her an email at tstm@mail.com or post a comment on the Tri-State Time Machine Facebook page. Did you like the episode? Be sure to share it with friends and family. It's the only way we can continue this fun work that we do. You can find a link in the show notes that you can use to share it. And be sure to let our sponsors know you like the podcast as well. Their contact information can be found in this episode's show notes.